Live from Orlando, Florida, you're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
What's up, Magic fans? Welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, Al, myself, Anthony. Today is Friday, October 12th. What's up, Al?
What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Feels like we haven't recorded in a minute. We skipped out last week because I was out of town. I was in Boston for a couple of days, just vacationing and whatnot. But we're back, man. We're back, and we're ready to talk Magic basketball. What's up, Al?
Yes, sir. Nothing much, man. Excited to do this. Like you said, it's been a week and a half, and we were just talking off the air how it feels like it's been a month. But I mean, I think we're entitled to a break once in a while. But man, I hope you had a good time in Boston. I know we talked the other night, but I know it's a great city. A lot of history out there. You're a history buff, so I'm sure you had a good time out there.
Yeah, I had a really good time. The only irony of it is while I was in Boston, we played against Boston, but we played in Orlando. So I watched the Boston Magic game in Boston while the Magic game was at home against Boston. So that's the only part that sucked. It would have been nice to be able to watch a Magic game away. I haven't done that in a couple of years. The last one I did was back in DC, and that was a dope experience. If you haven't seen if you haven't gone to a Magic game away, like if you're from Orlando and you haven't seen them away, that's like a must do. And I'm not talking about going to Miami to watch them or Tampa when they were doing that. I'm talking about like actually going to an away game, watching the Magic. Is a really, really dope experience because you're like the minority, man. Like literally, there's how many people would you say, like, because you've gone to a Celtics game in Boston, you're from that area. How many on average would you say like Magic representation away at a game like that?
Realistically, mind you, when I used to go up there, Dwight was playing for the Magic, right? So like they were the cool team to follow. Not quite like the Warriors, but they were at that level where they were fun to watch because of Dwight. So you would see a few Magic fans in the stands, but I got to tell you, when they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, the year that Vince was with the Magic, we went to those games, and I got to tell you, we were the only ones, my wife and I, in blue, in the entire arena. We did go to the Nets. We were in New Jersey at the time. We went to New Jersey. We went to MSG one year. And I got to tell you, maybe if I could tell you that I saw 20 people wearing Magic gear, it was a lot. And that was, again, back in those days. So I bet you if you go today.
That's what makes an experience. So like you're the only one. You're rooting for your team, and we're fanatics, so we're cheering for the team, and you're like the only one. Like there's nobody around you. It's just you. And God forbid you win. You stand out. Man.
Especially out there in the Northeast, whether it's New York or in Boston, if you cheer for the Magic and again you start to win and they start to lose, they go at it. I mean, they go at you pretty hard. I mean, that year in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of the best experiences of my life, man. They were throwing peanuts at us, which was insane, but I never experienced that in my entire life. We were cheering for Dwight, and they were calling him all kinds of names, and he sucked at the free throw line, of course, those days. So they were just making fun of him. But again, I'm a fan of that. I don't mind going at it with other fans. It's exciting for me. It's fun. But every single Magic fan I would see, the few that I saw, man, you feel like they're your brothers and sisters. You're like high-fiving them. You're like, man,
for sure.
Like it's such a weird experience. But it's funny you mentioned that because my wife and I are on vacation next week, and I'm like, man, like they play in New York, they play in Brooklyn, Atlanta. I'm like, that's a perfect little road trip. Just go up north, follow the team. So we're thinking about it. But if you guys haven't done that, you guys that are listening or watching on YouTube, it's a fun experience. Do it at least once or twice. It's really, really fun, especially in Boston. You were not able to go, but the crowd, man, they're insane. It's super loud. It's a really fun arena to go to.
Yeah, for sure. If you haven't done it, definitely make some time to do it because it is definitely an experience and a good time. So, man, in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Wendell Carter's injury and how that's going to impact the team, and also talk about Cole Anthony and his continuing to play really great basketball. And then kind of seeing how we would view Cole Anthony now. If we were to redraft the 2020 NBA draft. But before we do that, in one of the games, and Al, you're a season ticket holder, so you watch every game, every home game live. I have the luxury of being able to watch it at home and hear all the commentary. But in one of the commentaries between David and Jeff, they were talking about the expansion draft for a moment, and I got to thinking, if the NBA decided to create a new NBA franchise, and wherever they decided, Seattle, Vegas, Mexico, wherever, if they decided to create a new NBA draft, and you were or a new NBA team, and there was an expansion draft, and you were only able to save 8, only guaranteed untouchables, 8 on the Orlando Magic roster right now, who would your 8 be?
8 players from the Magic. So I prepare for this question, and I'm like, all right, let me see, let me think of like how many names can I list that are untouchable to me. And funny enough, I'm at 9, and I'm having a really hard time.
Gotta be 8.
I'm having a hard time deciding who do I cut. So I got Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, Suggs, RJ Hampton, Jonathan Isaac, Chuma, Franz, Mo Bamba, and Wendell Carter. So I'm at 9 right now. So if I have to cut one from that list, my goodness. Man, I'm
Who's
having a
our
hard
man
time.
out? Who's our man out? So obviously
Sheesh.
we have the same list. That's pretty much our core, right? But that puts us, you put us at that 9. So in my mind, the way that I view it, you're really choosing between, in my opinion, it's between RJ Hampton and Mo Bamba. It's between those
Pretty
two.
much.
The reason why is those two is because when you compare what we've seen so far, as well as Mo Bamba has been playing, he's still the one that we're still trying to, see what we've expected. And we haven't seen it yet. We've seen glimpses, but we haven't really seen what he's capable of. The reason why you're also looking at RJ Hampton is because of the loaded guards that we have. Markelle, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs. He's kind of the odd man out. But between the two, I would save. This is just me in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure people won't agree with me. And it's kind of the irony of it is this was a guy that I wanted to initially draft. The guy that I would not select and not save would probably be RJ Hampton. And I'm sure people are hearing this and they're like, whoa, what do you mean? You're not going to Mo Bamba? Really? The reason why I say that is because Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba, you're still trying to figure out who you have. We can't sit here and say that Wendell Carter Jr. is going to be your absolute center of the future. Hell, you can't even say that about Mo Bamba. You probably can't even say that about both. Who knows what ends up happening, in this year's NBA draft, right? Who knows what ends up happening? Who knows? But the fact that I'm already looking at the roster now and I see how well Cole Anthony's playing, and you still have so much like riding on Jalen Suggs. No matter how you feel about how he's been playing this year, he's a rookie. Things are going to happen. I have more than all the faith in the world that he's going to end up being what we expect him to be. But you have you have Jalen, you have Cole Anthony, you have Markelle, and it's just loaded, man. It's super, super loaded. And I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I really don't know. But I think that I would put my chips on Mo Bamba over RJ. That's just me personally. Just because I feel like you need a big body, you need a center, like you need that. And I feel like we're still trying to figure that out between Wendell and Mo Bamba. But that's just me. People won't listen. I understand. People won't agree with me, but that's what I would do. To me, RJ's odd man out.
I mean, I don't know if people won't agree, to be honest with you, because it's tough. Like I'm looking at the list and I'm struggling myself who I would cut. But you telling me you would cut RJ in that list, that's really shocking to me because I know how big of a fan you've been from the draft. Even through the episodes in the summer, like you keep saying, this kid is going to blow up in Orlando, and we can see the potential. But then again, like you mentioned Mo Bamba too. But I'll surprise you with mine though, I think a little bit. So I've narrowed it down to 2 names. And for me, weirdly enough, it was Mo Bamba also. But the other names don't surprise you. It was Chuma Okeke.
I thought about Chuma also.
And nothing against him. Chuma has tremendous potential. But I will tell you what, I don't know. After the injury, he just came back. I've seen him really, really passive. I've seen him kind of, what is he averaging these days? He's not really doing well
I
as
mean,
of yet.
he just came back. Like
Yeah,
he's still trying to get it. He's still trying to get the wind underneath him too.
but based on what I've seen, if it came down to RJ, let's say in your case and mine's with Chuma, so far RJ has shown me more in the little bit of time that they played this season, and even towards the end of last season. Chuma kind of had a little hot streak, but then he went cold, and then he got hurt, and now he's coming back, and he's kind of slowed off the gates. Um, I would go with Chuma just simply because we also have a lot of forwards that have stepped up and are playing really well. So Franz is one of them, but Ji comes back and he's 100% healthy, let's say. Then how do you include Chuma in the rotation? Now he's off the bench.
Well,
So
but I mean, I don't see there being an issue with Chuma coming off the bench. If anything, that's amazing. Jonathan Isaac comes back, you put him at the four, and that's fine. I think because if you take a look at our roster right now, I feel like our starting five, and we're going to talk a little bit about how well our starting five has been, and when you compare it to the rest of the league, but I feel like it's too loaded. Like we really have our five best players just in the starting lineup, and we just forget about positions. That's really what it is.
true.
And when you think about Jonathan Isaac and Markel comes back, now you're taking a look at a major upgrade to that second unit. Like I'm looking forward to what the second unit is going to look like the minute that we get a full healthy roster. But I think that how it should be is, as much as I like Wendell Carter and Mo playing in the game together, Jonathan Isaac comes back, that's all out the window.
Oh yeah.
Not in the starting lineup anyways. Maybe during the game, but you got JI back. So now you're going to see a more balanced center presence. Now you're going to see a more balanced point guard presence, because there's times where it's kind of like Cole and Suggs aren't in the game. Like, what are we doing? Right.
Yep.
But then Markel gets back, and now you're going to have like a floor general on the court 100% of the time. Always. Maybe there's going to be moments where Markel and Cole are in the game, and there's Jalen Suggs, and you're still hoping that he becomes that. And I know that people have concerns with his ball handling at the moment. They're concerns with, what he's able to do. People are even saying that he's not really a point guard. He should be more of that two guard. That's for a later discussion. But I think that, once you get Markel and JI back, it's going to start balancing things out. So that's my point. That's the reason why I would probably have RJ as the odd man out. But I absolutely love RJ, and I'm not saying that we need to cut him or trade him. I'm not saying any of that. But if you were to tie my hands and tell me, if there's an expansion draft, you can only save 8, those would be my.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think I would argue with you on that, but I don't know, man. I feel like if you give me the two guys, if they were in the draft today, RJ or Chuma, I don't know. I may go with RJ slightly over Chuma, but then again, that's why I had such a hard time choosing only 8. So you cannot really give me an answer that I'm like, oh yeah, 100% agree with you. It's hard.
Yeah, and whoever we end up like leaving out, hypothetically, of course, this is all hypothetical, but that's like a boost for that player. You know how it is. Every time we skip out on a player, they end up being all-stars and
they become all-stars somewhere else.
Yeah. All right, man. Just jumping into this week in review. So we had a total of 5 games since we last had a podcast. So we had a win against Minnesota, loss against Boston, loss against San Antonio, win against Utah, major win against Utah. That was a fun game. And then loss against Brooklyn. So we are a total of 12 games in, and the team is currently 3-9. Al, what exactly, when you kind of reflect on these past games, or even from the season, the start of the season, what has stood out to you? Like, what is one thing that you can kind of, stamp your finger on and say, man, this is the biggest thing that I can see from this team?
I think you got to be really happy with, of course, Cole Anthony. That's the number one thing that jumps at you when you say, man, like, I did not expect that. I think Cole Anthony played really well last season, especially towards the end of the season. But you can't tell me we expect him to average almost 20 points a night while shooting almost 40% from three-point range. It's surreal. Averaging almost 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Kid is killing it right now. And not only that, but also the positive media attention that we're getting because of him. Whether it's ESPN or Bleacher Report or whatever media outlet out there, Cole Anthony's getting a ton of love in the media, and Orlando needs that. So of course, that's my number one thing. The other thing, believe it or not, for me is the defense. Like I know we're not doing amazing on defensive end. We allowed 123 to Brooklyn, 115 to Minnesota, but we're also holding a lot of good teams to 90 points, 100 points, low 100s. Um, and there's a lot of improvements needed in that area. But I think the team has done pretty well. They're still new. They're still getting used to the system that Coach Mosley is trying to implement. Like I said earlier, Okiki's just getting into the rotation, and he's a good defender. GI still out. MCW still out. Markel's still out. So even with those great defenders not playing, we still have a pretty solid defense that's only going to get better as the year progresses. So if you ask me, those are two things. And a third one would be Franz. I mean, I can't even say enough things about this kid anymore. We were sitting last night watching at the Nets game, and this kid was going at it with KD like he's a vet. He's not afraid of the kid of KD. He's stealing the ball from him. It's amazing what he's done. I know his numbers have kind of slowed down a little bit more since last time we recorded, but I mean, this kid has been way more than I expected him to be this season.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that KD didn't give some shots to in fact. Like he gave shout outs to Scotty Barnes, said, "Oh man, how old is he? 17, 18 years old? Sheesh." Right? We didn't get any of that with Franz. And Franz, what didn't he get like 2 steals off of him? Or stealing a deflection, something like that. I was kind of not that we need that stamp of approval, but it would have been nice. It would have been nice to hear. But I agree with you, Al. I think that Cole Anthony playing at the level that he is playing is left field. No one expected it, right? Because even when people discuss in the offseason about Cole Anthony last season, people say that, it was all right, right? People said it was a solid performance. And now then we kind of fast forward to the summer league, and you remember the conversations that people were having and the topics that people were discussing. They were saying that Cole Anthony ain't what he used to be. We knew that this was going to be the Cole Anthony that this is the real Cole Anthony. Imagine summer league, people are saying this, and this dude comes in and he is exactly the type of person. He has the persona, he has the athleticism, he has all the mix that you need to have someone be a face of a franchise. Like from his interviews that he has to the fact that he is 6'2", 6'3", and he's able to do what he's doing on the court. Like this man in the Utah game, 32 minutes he played, dropped 33 points. This dude had 10 points fourth quarter, really led the team. Him and RJ led the team to kind of steal that win against Utah that, again, nobody's expecting. But this man had 2 major highlights. And the thing that drives me crazy about this, that got me really hyped, is the fact that, this dude not only dunked it with the right hand, this dude dunked it with the left hand. Like, you know how hard it is to slam it with your left hand? Like, granted, I'm not saying that in my basketball days I'm over here jumping out of the gym, but I've had my moments. No way in hell. There's no way in hell that I'm dunking with my left hand. It's not comfortable. I can barely drive with my left hand. Can you brush your teeth with your left hand?
Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, it might be a little awkward. This dude dunked in a game with the game on the line with his left hand. It's just, man, the confidence, it shines through. His post interviews are amazing. It's likable, is what allows for those moments to go viral. Even after that game, I believe Cole Anthony was number 13 on the trending list on Twitter. So Cole Anthony has not only the name, he has a swagger, he has a persona, and he has a game to back it up. And he's 6'2", 6'3". Some of the things that make Steph Curry so likable is that, the kids sitting at home, they're a little more, they can kind of see themselves more in that player. They're a little more relatable. Maybe that kid can't see themselves being a LeBron James, being, as big and tall as he is. And I think that there's just more of a connection with Cole Anthony. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing that surprised me. Yes, Franz Wagner, major surprise, but nobody was expecting this from Cole Anthony. And if you did, you're lying.
Especially, like you said, summer league and preseason, he wasn't at his best. And people were, again, judging him and saying 6 men at best, or man, like he's not going to figure it out. He's too small. And yeah,
Well,
here he is.
that's the crazy thing. Everybody was saying, like in everyone's mind, it was all right. Jalen Suggs, he needs to be starting from day one, which I agree with. And when Markel gets healthy, it's going to be the Jalen and Markel show. And now the way that it looks, it's impossible. There's no way in hell that you're not even a thought that Cole Anthony is not going to be in that starting lineup. Right now, Cole Anthony is your best player. And I'm even thinking when J.I. and Markel comes back, maybe not down the road, but initially when they come back, Cole Anthony is still going to be your best player. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of all rolls out.
I mean, he's playing, right? That's the biggest thing. He's playing. He's on the court. He's showing us his potential and what he can do on the court. Unfortunately, at this particular moment, we cannot see Markel. We cannot see J.I. So based on that alone, he's going to get the benefit of the doubt, right? Like you got to outplay him to send him to the bench or to get his minutes. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be exciting, man. But I mean, you got to be excited for what we're seeing from Cole Anthony. We've needed a guy like this for years. Just a guy that can just put on a show, drop 30 points, 25 points a night. We haven't had that in such a long time. And Butch was doing it, but it was boring. Let's be honest. It was a set three-pointer. It was a hook shot. It was a little layup. That's not fun to watch. This kid is taking, crossing you over, step back, and hitting a three in your face. Then he comes right down and slams it on you. Like, I mean, last night, that dunk against KD that he almost made, I jumped out of my seat and I almost left the arena if he would have made that shot. Like, that dunk. It's just, that's the excitement he brings to the arena. And the arena was dead yesterday. It was raining in Orlando, and the fan base was just like it. Like, they wanted to take a nap. The whole game. Yeah. Once Cole almost threw that one down, dude, like the arena just you could sense the excitement, even though it was a missed dunk.
Yeah, he has an alpha trait, man, and I feel like that's something that we haven't had in a really, really long time, especially from the guard position. And he's fearless. Like even it. So in order to show up to those moments, you're gonna have to live with yourself of either making that play or not making it. And he is someone that, without a question, without a thought, like, give me the ball, I'm going to do it. And again, that's something that we haven't had in a minute. And I think that in order for any team to be successful, they need to be able to have that guy. Take a look at the Golden State Warriors. You take a look at, even if we're discussing Utah Jazz with, Donovan Mitchell, Portland, all these good teams, you need to have that alpha. Brooklyn has it. You need to have that alpha. That's what you hope your number one pick in the draft, your second pick in the draft, your top 5 pick in the draft. You hope that they can become that. And I think that we are very fortunate that Cole Anthony was able to fall down to us. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but very fortunate that we were able to draft him and that he was available at the time that he was available. Now, what would you say is your biggest concern from what you've seen?
Concern at the moment for me would be the vets, without a doubt. Gary Harris and Terrence Ross were these two guys that were kind of handpicked and said, you know what, we're not going to trade them. We're going to keep them. We need vets. We need guys to help these young guys figure it out. You can add to that Robin Lopez and Etuan Moore as well, MCW. But the two ones that were supposed to contribute right away and play on the court and show their leadership were Gary Harris and Terrence Ross. And I know we've talked about this in the past. I know on social media it's a hot topic right now. But I mean, you got Terrence Ross scoring 9.6 points a game, shooting 27% for three-point range at this moment. Gary Harris, 5.4 points per game, shooting 38%, 15% for three-point range. Simply said, it's honestly, like you can't even explain it. These are guys that are getting a chance. They're getting a lot of minutes. They're not contributing. They're not making it easier for the young guys at this moment. So that to me is a big concern, because if they don't want to be here, it is what it is. Let's make something happen. If they don't like their roles, well, let's figure that out. But something's got to change, because if you're telling me that, like you said earlier, our starters doing a great job, the young guys are doing a good job, but the vets are not helping them out, something's got to change. So that to me is my biggest concern at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, is there really anything else that stands out outside of that? I mean, we kind of expect that, Coach Mose is going to have, moments where he shines and moments that you're kind of asking yourself, like, man, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? I think that, if we're going to give credit for a moment to Coach Most. I think that he's done a really good job at least making adjustments. Kind of started off playing a 10, 11-man rotation and really brought that down. That I thought was, a really good observation, and the fact that he was able to make that adjustment. But yeah, man, you're really looking for your vets to be able to support. And I know that it's not an ideal situation. Terrence Ross is a remaining player from the Hennigan era. He's being used differently than, how Clifford used him. The plays aren't being run for him the same way that they were. Who knows what type of conversations were had in regards to how his role would be this time around. Maybe they don't want him to go out there and drop, 20, 30 points or do, 15, 20 times a game. Who knows? We don't know the conversations. We know that when he's in the game, we're used to seeing him play a certain way, and we definitely haven't had that. And I feel like what makes it difficult is that the body language isn't the same. Even in his interviews that we've heard, it's not the same Terrence Ross. The only real performance that we saw from Terrence Ross this season was that Knicks game, and that was it. That was just recorded. So if you are going to pinpoint one area where it's kind of like, man, why is it this way? What is disappointing about the season so far? 100% hands down, it's got to be the vets. And I hold that, solely on Terrence Ross and Gary Harris. Because even with Gary Harris, his time in the Nuggets, I know that early on in his career, the first couple seasons, he was a great ball player, and there was a high ceiling for him. I feel like towards the end, before he got traded, kind of dwindled down. He lost a little minutes from it, but I thought, coming to Orlando would have been a really good opportunity. I really expected Gary Harris to be in that starting lineup. I thought that he was going to be a player that, would have been able to kind of lead the team. And I know that, he did have that injury. But I don't know, man. I definitely expected more from Gary, and definitely expect more from Terrence Ross. And it even adds more, fuel to the fire when we start talking about, the NBA trade deadline, not coming up soon, but still you have thoughts of, okay, if it's not working out here, then we start having the conversations of, where should these guys, what could we get in return? If their value right now isn't, impressing us, then is it going to impress other teams? Terrence Ross has a reputation, like, what he's there for. That he is a microwave, that he's going to be able to come in and be able to contribute right away. We just haven't seen it this season. And does that bring down the value for when it is time to have those conversations with other teams?
And that's my biggest concern, right? Like Terrence Ross, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever you want to look at it as, it will not be in Orlando long term. Like, it's either going to be this season, if that, but more than likely trade deadline. But the way that he's playing right now, how can a team like, let's say, the Celtics or the Mavericks or whoever may be that wants him give you a solid offer when you look at the stats? It's not being backed up right now. 9 points a game, they're less than 30% from three-point range. That's not Terrence Ross that we've been getting used to. Terrence Ross has to average 14, 15 points a night and shoot it decently from three-point range. But it's not even that, man. I feel like you said, the body language, but also there's things like he's not looking for his shot. Like, he's coming off screen sometimes. Like, he has a potential shot there, a three-point shot, and he's instead taking a couple of dribbles inside the paint and forcing a pass to Mo Bamba, whatever it may be, and turning it over. So that aggressiveness is not there. Terrence Ross in years past would catch that ball and shoot a three right away, defend it there or not. So I don't know. Something's changed. And of course, like I said earlier, Gary Harris, same thing. The mentality is not there. The aggressiveness is not there. And to bring it up, I'll say it. We went to that event on Tuesday night with some Magic players. And I think I pointed it out to you. I'm like, Gary Harris looked miserable out there. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. Everyone else was cracking jokes and laughing with the season ticket holders. And Gary Harris did not look the part. Did not seem like he fit with that group. So like I said, it's a lot maybe going on in the locker room. He's thinking about his future. I don't know what's going on, but in my opinion, how you fix that is by playing well, showing up you're a great player. And I guarantee you, if you're not happy in Orlando, the Magic will trade you to the right destination. But you gotta give them a reason to. It cannot just be otherwise.
Yeah, and then me personally, and I'm sure people won't agree with it, but I kind of already have the mindset where I really don't want anything back in return for Terrence Ross. Like, when it comes to the NBA trade deadline and you start having those conversations with these teams, like I feel like, and someone had pointed out on Twitter, I want to say it was maybe the Lando, I wasn't 100% sure, one of them. When it came to Terrence Ross, like last season, we were talking about, Terrence Ross, this dude deserves a lifetime contract. Like he was high on everyone's list. He's definitely a fan favorite. This season is the complete opposite. And it's changed. He's not playing with Vooch. He's not playing with Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon. He's not playing with the veteran group. He's not playing with, Clifford, who's really was able to maximize, Terrence Ross's talents. And I just feel like I feel bad for the situation. Like I feel like Terrence Ross has no business being on our team. That he deserves to go play for a team where he's able to contribute and to be able to make that team better. So if it was me, when it comes to that time, Terrence Ross, pick 3 teams that you want to go to and have the Magic, try to make the best deal possible with those teams. And that dude deserves to be on a team, and I hope that the Magic take the opportunity to be able to at least show that take care of players, because it's not their fault that we traded 90% of our veterans. So that's my outlook on it. Now, so this past game against Brooklyn, Wendell Carter leaves the game. He had an eye abrasion. Ended up leaving, when was it? I believe it was the third quarter. So now Wendell Carter's no longer, he may be out. You know how the Magic goes. They don't like giving timetables for return. So we don't know if it's going to be 1 game, 5 games, half a year. We don't know how long Wendell's going to be out for. In my mind, he's going to end up, coming back in a couple games with Horace Grant goggles. But let's say that Wendell Carter doesn't return for a little bit. What is the outlook looking like? What do you do? What do you do with the starting lineup? What do you do with the rotation?
I think that the thing you do is you slide Chuma into the power forward position, Mo Bamba to the 5, and you kind of let that ride. My concern with that lineup is rebounding. We've been kind of struggling a little bit as it is with rebounding. Chuma, it's not too bad. He boxes out pretty well, but Mo Bamba unfortunately has a history of not boxing out properly and not really going for rebounds. And I tweeted it earlier today. I think it's a really, really big opportunity for Mo Bamba to step up. If Wendell misses any games, Wendell may be fine and play Saturday and we're good to go. But if he is out for, let's say, 1 game, 2 games, most got to show something, not only to the Magic, but to the NBA, because it's a perfect opportunity. You're now going to play guaranteed 30 minutes a night. You're the only center really that deserves to be in the starting lineup. How do you react to that? How do you come out and show your worth? We talked about it earlier. We're debating, does he belong in the top 8 in the Magic in a hypothetical expansion draft? We think he does. He has a potential. So I think if you're Mo Bamba, you're excited about this chance, and you got to go out there and show that you're worth it. And now for Chuma, it's a good time to say, hey, I was a starter last season. I know I was hurt, but I'm back. And you got to give a reason to Coach Mosley to play you more minutes, to play you in the starting lineup, if that's where you belong. So I think it's a good chance for both of these guys to show that they're hungry, that they want it, and to, again, take advantage of the opportunity, if you ask me.
Yeah. Next man up. So, Chuma Okeke at that 4 spot definitely makes the most sense. It's where he's comfortable. It's an easy transition. And then you got Mo Wagner that is going to definitely be playing way more in upscale minutes. I would imagine Rolo will see a few more minutes as well. And I think it makes sense. So definitely an easy transition. Now, the Magic have gotten a little recognition right now. Currently, statistically, the Orlando Magic starting 5 has been the best 5-man lineup in the NBA so far this season. Does that surprise you?
That's surreal to me.
Crazy, right? Number 1 in the whole entire NBA. We're talking about Cole. We're talking about Suggs. We're talking about Franz, Wendell, Mo Bamba. The best starting 5 in the NBA.
What does it say, though? Does that really say they're that great? Or let's be honest, it doesn't say that our bench is so bad.
On average, when those 5 are on the court together, they're beating their opponents by 18 points on average.
Which is crazy. But this is my thing. Is it because the bench just blows every single lead that they get? They come back and take the lead back up again. So is it because the bench is so bad that they are looking this great? Or is it realistically that they look that great? What do you think? Like, do they really play that well and they're really that solid as a starting five or as a 5-man lineup? Or do you think it's the bench's fault that they look so great?
I don't think that it's the bench's fault that they look so great. I think that it's a lineup that works. Listen, I think if anything, they need to play more minutes with those five on the court. And I know that that's hard. I know that that's challenging, but I think it's a good balance. I think that having Wendell and Mobamba on the court together, I think it surprised a lot of people. I think that people weren't looking at that. Did Clifford play them together at all last season, like towards the
Not
end?
at all. Maybe a couple of minutes, but
maybe. I don't know. I think that definitely give credit to Most because he hasn't changed his starting lineup. With Wendell being out, this is going to be his first starting five change of the season. We're 12 games in, and he's definitely kept the continuity in that starting lineup. And I think that for these players to kind of know what to expect going into the game, I think that that's important. And I think that we've definitely have been able to see the most out of that group. And it's a good sign. It's a good sign. Like this could easily listen. It's only 12 games. That's it. This could easily change a week from now. It can change 2 weeks from now. It could stay the exact same way the whole entire season. But the part that makes it a little challenging is that the record doesn't reflect it. We're 3-9. Honestly, if we're speaking honestly, the fact that we're 3-9 is way better than I predicted. So I consider that a win.
Yep.
But they're the Magic. Listen, when you're watching the game, we know that this year is going to be a development year. But we're watching this game and watching these games, and they're fun to watch. Like I know Brooklyn game was a little tough, but that Utah game was exciting, and people were talking about the Magic. And I think that if at the very least, that's something that you can hang your hat on. That the team is fun to watch, and a lot of that has to do with these five players that they're kind of carrying that load for the team.
Yeah, and I think it's only going to get better, right? So the issue with the Magic right now is the depth. Like they're not really deep right now because, again, 5 rotation guys are out right now. So how do you make up for that? You got to play Mo Wagner when somebody gets in foul trouble instead of Ji getting more minutes. Cole struggling tonight. Guess what? We got to play Suggs, even though he's struggling tonight. Like there's not really an answer to when we face any adversity out there. So I think again, we keep saying this. Once player returns from injury, I think you will see so much more potential out of the team and better play overall because now Cole may get in foul trouble. Let's say, hey, Markel can play now 30 minutes a night. Oh, that didn't work out. Hey, you can play and plug in MCW at the backup point guard if you need to. Like again, that depth is not there at the moment. So it's impressive what they've done. The record doesn't reflect it. But again, I will give major credit to our head coach Mosley, because like you said, to not change the lineup despite getting Gary Harris back from injury, which we all expected him to be a starter. Not yet. He's still off the bench. Chuma came back from injury. He's still off the bench. So he's writing it out. He's really trusting this starting lineup, and I'd like to see that. But like you said, also, let's see how long that lasts. Because again, that could change in a few weeks.
Man, I'm sure these players, the players right now that we have on the court, they're all just like, man, just wait on it. If we're able to do this damage without Jonathan, without Markel, just wait on it. Wait until we're able to get these guys back. Wait until we're able to get this reinforcement. Then people are going to be in trouble. Because we take a look at the East, and dude, the East doesn't scare me, man. It really doesn't. Like we're talking about the Knicks, we're talking about the Pacers, Miami, maybe Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is not even the same Brooklyn. Like James Harden ain't the same James Harden. Like the only person that you're really worried about is Kevin Durant. Now, granted, we got stomped by the Nets. I get it, 123-90. I get it, but I don't know, man. Like I still think we have this conversation before. Like, can this team be a play-in team? And you really don't know the type of team that you're going to have once these guys return. And I know that in the beginning, it might be a little bit of an adjustment. But again, everything's going to be so much more balanced. Second unit is going to be solid, super solid. And I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Bleacher Report, they have their own NBA rookie ladder. And right now they currently list Franz Wagner as a third best rookie. Third best. What are your thoughts on that? And then they also have, what was it, Jalen Suggs at 10?
Yep.
So when you take a look at that, so excuse me, NBA rookie ladder now has Suggs at 10, and then they have Franz Wagner dropping to 4. But Bleacher Report has Franz at 3. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's accurate. I mean, the only two names that come to mind that have been better than Franz, realistically speaking, right now, I think of Mobley as one, and I think of Barnes as the other guy. But other than that, even Duarte, the kid from Indiana, he's playing really well. The record's not that great, so I think you can really say it's up to you at that point. Is Franz worth the third slot or Franz? I'm not sure, but I think if you tell me, I think it's accurate. I mean, I wish the Suggs again was playing a little bit better. He was up there, top 6, maybe top 5. Unfortunately, he's not right now. But Franz for sure deserves to be there. And it's not only the stats. Again, don't look at the numbers only. It's the impact it's having on the court for the Magic, and the numbers don't look bad either. But this kid is playing really, really well for the Orlando Magic at the moment, and the league is on notice, which is great to see that they're noticing the deflections, the steals per game, all the little things that make an impact. So I don't disagree with the list, and I completely agree. I think he is definitely a top 3, 4 rookie so far.
Dude, this man had 6 steals against Brooklyn.
Yep.
6. You know how hard it is to get 2 steals in a game? 3, 4, 5. This dude had 6. When you talk about a player that is literally all around, like this dude, what can't he do? He can put the ball on the floor. He's 6'10". He can shoot from the arc. He can, play really good defense. He has really quick lateral legs. Like this dude can do everything, and he has like this athleticism out of nowhere that I was surprised with personally.
Dude, like he's worth 1 or 2 good dunks a night. Who would have thought that?
I wonder, like me personally, I wonder what was going through his head, like in summer league. Like I people said it back then that he's not a summer league type of player. Like he has to be like in the actual game where it's like the games count. But I wonder what was like going through his head. Like, man, I hate summer league. Wait until I get into the actual real game. Wait until these people really know who I am. Because nobody was expecting Franz Wagner. Nah, man, everyone was disappointed with that pick. And they said in the beginning, they said that Franz Wagner was going to be a fan favorite. And it took all of what, 2, 3 games?
That's all it took. That's all it took.
Insane. I think that at the end of it, I think that Franz Wagner for sure will be in the discussion of Rookie of the Year. I don't think he'll win it. I think that Evan Mobley is playing crazy basketball right now, and he's on a team where they need him to play crazy basketball right now.
Yep.
I think that he would definitely get it. I'm surprised to see Jalen Green fall, and he hasn't been playing great basketball. But I think that Franz would definitely be up there. Minimum top 3.
You know what's funny? Sure. You know what's funny though? Coming into the NBA draft 2021, all the talk was about the guard play, right? Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, Cade. And yet you look at least up to today, almost a month into the season, it's the forwards that are shining. So you got, again, Mobley, Barnes, Franz as a top 3 players right now. So it's funny how that kind of turned out. It kind of flipped. Now, also makes me feel better about Jalen Suggs. The fact that Jalen Green is struggling, Cade is struggling. They played well last night face-to-face against each other. But when you look at the stats, they're shooting horribly from the field. They are getting 20 points, 18 points, but how they're doing it is taking 20 shots a night. Like, it's not like they're getting it efficiently. So it makes me feel better about Suggs. Again, like I've been saying too, Cole went through it last year. It's going to take some time for these guards to figure out the NBA game, the pace, and how to get opening, how to make open shots, because they're rushing it right now. And I think that's the issue with Jalen Suggs. You can see it in the games. He's wide open, but he's kind of rushing his shots instead of just settling into it, following through. But again, it just makes you feel better knowing that, hey, our rookie that we will have so much hype for is struggling equally like the other guards that we wanted so bad if we were top 3 in the draft.
Yeah, 12 games in, still not worried about Suggs. He's going to be all right. So nobody writing him off just yet.
Nope.
All right, we're going to get into our pass and shoot. So the biggest topic that we've been kind of seeing across, especially after that Utah game, is Cole Anthony being drafted number 15. Again, this was a player that was, I think, number 2 or 3 in the nation coming out of high school, had a really big injury in North Carolina, and he really fell down. The mock drafts really fell down. I mean, I remember in the beginning of the college season, like people were looking at Cole Anthony being number 1, number 2 to go in the draft. And he was definitely that one player that fell. Now, Al, my question to you is, if you were to redraft the 2020 draft picks, would Cole go top 5, pass or shoot?
I'm shooting on that all day long. If I were an NBA GM today, the only 2 names that I would consider drafting before him from the same draft class, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball. That's about it. Everyone else in that list, I wouldn't pick over Cole Anthony. Why would I? And I'm not only saying it, I mean, I'm basing it 100% just on the fact how they've played so far up to this point in their NBA careers. So I'm going to shoot on that. Again, I would draft him 3rd if that was my pick. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just to kind of give everyone a fresh reminder, Anthony Edwards 1, James Wiseman 2, LaMelo. It was Patrick Williams, Isaac Okoro. It was Okongwu, Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin, Denny, Jalen Smith, Devin Vassell, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyra, Aaron, and then Cole Anthony. So when I take a look at that list, we know that it's going to be, it may still be Anthony Edwards, but I think LaMelo might go 1. But I would definitely put Anthony, then LaMelo, and then it may be Halliburton, maybe. So I think that the lowest that Cole would fall, I would say 4, the lowest, if we're going back in time.
How about Wiseman? You wouldn't pick him?
I don't know, man, because he struggles so much with injuries that they're still trying to figure out what they have with James Wiseman. I mean, they're right now Golden State, they're expecting that the minute they get Clay and James Wiseman back, they're title contenders. Shit, they think they're title contenders now.
Oh yeah, they're looking like it for sure.
Yeah, I know that puts a smile on your face.
Oh yeah, but hey,
you know what's crazy is that I'm looking at this draft class, and this was a really decent draft. Like people were saying that this was supposed to be a weak draft, and there's a lot of players that even late into the draft, you got Tyrese Maxey that went 21, RJ Hampton 24, Malachi Flynn 29, Desmond Bane 30.
It had a
lot
lot
of
of
players in this draft.
Role players, like a lot of good role players.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'll tell you what, you mentioned one name that I consider putting him above Cole Anthony was Tyrese Halliburton. I'm like, does he deserve to go above Cole Anthony? But I'm looking at the stats right now. So far, last year and this year, 13 points a game, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Not for nothing, man. Cole Anthony either comes close or has outplayed him this season for sure. So based on that, I'll go with Cole first. I'll draft him first.
Still don't understand how this man did not make all rookie team. First or second.
It's all good.
How?
It lit that fire in him, and we're seeing what happened when you doubt this kid.
Insane. All right, jumping into the next one. So Franz had 6 steals against Brooklyn, and he currently leads all rookies in deflections per game. Will Franz be known to be one of the best defenders in the league? Is he someone that you see eventually being all NBA defense? Can you see that?
I'm going to shoot. I mean, we've seen very little so far, only 12 games in, but I'm going to shoot based on potential, based on what he's showing me as a rookie, that he can hang with Kevin Durant, out of all people. He can hang in there with guys that are stronger than him. We saw him handle Randall from the Knicks, and instead he stood his ground against him. We see him guard small players and keep up with them speed-wise. So I think the potential is there. The deflections, the steals, it's all about reaction. He has that. He has the length. He has good timing for shot blocking. And he's known as a good defender out of college. So I think the potential is there. So when you talk about J.I., Chuma being great defenders, Aaron Gordon when he was here, this kid has the same instincts, the same things that you look for in a great defender. So I'm going to shoot on that, and I think that it's realistic.
I think it's realistic. Jonathan Isaac was really known to be also an elite deflector. I don't know if he'll be all NBA defense, but I think that he has the right body, has the right weight, has the right height, has the right speed to where he's going to cause havoc to be able to guard, those really big wing players, your LeBrons, your Durant's. I think that, every team needs that one player that can really take on that challenge. And I think that Franz is definitely that guy. And just to think of, Franz and Jonathan Isaac together on the same team, like playing on the court in
And Mo
unison.
Bamba. But I know Wendell's a great defender, but if you throw Mo Bamba in there, man, the length is just ridiculous.
Like, just to kind of put it in perspective, like, this was the main reason why Nuggets traded for Aaron Gordon. They needed to be they wanted to have that one guy that they can put on Giannis Antetokounmpo. They want to be able to have that one guy that can really handle that, that positionary defense. And I think that between Isaac and Franz, like, dude, take your pick. Like, that's what makes it so exciting. Is Franz is big enough, and mind you, he's only 20 years old.
Crazy.
Franz is big enough to where you can switch him to play defense on 3s, 4s, and 5s, and he's quick enough to even play defense on the 2s.
Yep.
Like, when you go against the Bucks, like, who has that kind? Like, you want to switch? Go ahead and switch. Like, imagine you have Jonathan Isaac and Franz. Someone puts a pick on Jonathan Isaac, but now you have Franz defending you. Like, I think that, and we may be putting too much on the rookie, but I think that it's gonna be fun to watch on the defensive end. I think that it's gonna cause a lot of havoc for the other team. It's definitely gonna be fun.
Oh yeah.
All right, now RJ Hampton on a recent podcast, on the Certified Buckets podcast, said that, and I quote, "We want to be one of those teams that within 1 year or 2 years make it to the Eastern Conference Finals." And he listed the Hawks and Suns as examples of teams that have recently done this. Do you think that this is a realistic viewpoint on where the team is now?
I think it's the beginning of it. So I'm going to pass quickly, just because I think it's realistic to look at the foundation. Like, we're building something, right? That foundation is being established right now. The young guys that we have are good. The potential's there. I don't know about 2 years, though. I think it's a little bit, or one. I think it's a little bit too much. But I can definitely say the team will be in the playoffs. I really think as early as next season. And I know people have called me crazy, but I think if you have a healthy Markel, just make the playoffs next season.
Okay.
The Eastern Conference Finals, I think we're a little bit more ways to go on that. But I like the goal. I like the mindset that he has. I like the fact that he's thinking that way as a young guy, 20 years old, coming off the bench right now. And that's a mindset that he has. But the teams that he listed have done this. The Hawks, the Suns, they were okay teams. They went through struggling times like we're going through right now. But they drafted one or two guys that took them to the next level. And all of a sudden, a disgruntled star wanted to go there. And all of a sudden, they took off. Orlando has cap space. They have cap space this summer. They have money to spend. They don't have bad contracts. They have a ton of picks. We have the makings of a team that can put together a nice package and get a disgruntled star in Orlando. And all of a sudden, hey, people know who J.I. is. People know who Cole Anthony is now nationwide, and the Magic become a thing. So I think it's realistic. I don't know about, again, next year or 2 years from now, but it can definitely happen. But in that time frame, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, I think that before we start talking about Eastern Conference Finals, we got to make the playoffs first. At least to play in. I think it's too early to talk about that, but kudos to RJ Hampton for being fearless enough to be able to say that. You want your players to have that type of confidence. What else is he supposed to say?
True.
What do we want to hear? My take is a couple. No, we don't want to hear none of that. The fact that he says in his mind he thinks that we're going to be able to make it deep into the playoffs sooner rather than later. Alex Martins was saying, by 2030.
Chill.
We're about we're
No,
about to, we're about to hit 2022, man. I don't want to wait another 8 years.
no. I'll be 40 by then. No, I don't want that.
By that point, all these players are super vets. We're
Yeah,
not trying to we're trying to win with this group that we have now. And I think that you're right. I think that right now is the beginning, is the making. Once we get the healthy roster and we start really playing the type of basketball that I think that we can play, in free agency, they start looking at, man, what would this team look like if they had me? And I think that
exactly.
one of the best sales pitch that you can have is in the playoffs. So that's why I really like, I get that there's a lot of people saying that, man, these losses are great. We need to start looking in the draft to be able to add more pieces. I get that. In a perfect world, we really lucked out this NBA draft. And we really lucked out. And I remember us like watching the lottery, and we weren't happy after that lottery.
Oh,
So we can't just put all our chips in the lottery. We need to put all our chips in development and really hope that these players can really carry the load and be what they think they can be, which I agree. I think that, our team is young enough and have a high enough ceiling to where talking about the Eastern Conference Finals is not far-fetched. I think it's far-fetched thinking in the next 2 years, but sometime within the next 5, why not? These teams are getting older. Kevin Durant is in his mid-30s.
yeah.
James Harden is struggling to score 18 points with now the new rule change of the fouls, the shooting fouls. I don't know, man. I think that it's not crazy to think. I just think it's crazy to think right now, but ultimately I don't think it's crazy to think. I think this group has what it takes, and who knows what changes can be made to kind of accelerate that process.
I think that the only way that happens again is if you, again, like I said earlier, if you land that free agent that all of a sudden you were not expecting to land, boom, it comes to Orlando, things change. If you make a trade that you were not expecting, then that changes the whole dynamic of what we're doing. But like I said, the foundation is solid. The entire locker room is talking about playoffs this season. They're talking about big goals. Cole Anthony, Markel Falls, J.I. You like that in the young guys. I don't. Maybe I forgot it, but I don't recall our last rebuilding team when we had like Peyton, Gordon coming out rookie season talking about the playoffs and coming out saying like that's our goal right now. And that's what I like about this team. Like they understand they're young, but they have that vision that hey, we want to win. Last season we were all about tanking. They're like, no, we don't want to tank. We want to win. So like I love the fact that they have that drive in them. And to your point on the lottery, I'm done with that game. I suffered too much last year. Listen, I want to win every game this season, and let the lottery play out in May of next year. We'll deal with that later. But as we saw, having the best odds or whatever it may be does not mean anything. So if we end up with the 6th worst record, we may jump to number 1. It is what it is.
Facts.
There you go.
All right, so let's jump into the week ahead. So this time I'm gonna put a little spin to it, Al. If you haven't known, sports betting in the state of Florida is now legal. Al and I, we've done our share sets
Donations?
of betting donations, because it hasn't really been betting because I've been losing everything. I think I'm like $200 in the hole. Don't tell my wife.
Oh man.
But when we take a look at this week ahead, so Saturday we got the Wizards, Monday Atlanta, Wednesday and New York. Al, if you were to bet $200, and I would imagine, because we can't see it yet, but I would imagine that Vegas has, the odds, where you can make the most money if the Magic win. Where would you put your $200? Where would you bet your money that the Magic would steal a win?
That's a good question. I have 2 games in mind that I like, but I would go with Monday at Atlanta. I
Really?
think the Magic can upset the Hawks in Atlanta. Young team, we can keep up with them. We have good length guarding Trae Young, guarding their wing players, and some big guys that can hang with Collins and Capella. So I think that's one game that if our shots are going in, that's the biggest thing for us. If our shots go in, we have a chance. If they don't, like last night, it's going to be horrible. So if we can be at our best in Atlanta shooting the ball, we can steal that game. So that's where I would throw it. How about you?
Yep. So before I made my bet, I would need to get one fact confirmed. is Cole Anthony's mom going to sit in Spike Lee's seat in New York? Because if she
Damn, that's a good one.
then I'm putting my money on Wednesday's game in New York. I think
That's a good one.
I think that game you have to circle it, because after the Magic beat the Knicks, there was a report that came out stating that, Julius Randle felt internally sick. He felt ill. He didn't feel well. He had a tummy ache. I think that they have the Magic circled, and I think that they're in their minds they're going to be prepared, and they want to whoop our ass, man. There's no way, because we went in there, we smacked them in the face in their home base, and they're supposed to be this really, really good basketball team, and they played really well this season so far.
They have,
but I think that we live rent free in their heads right now, and I think that we have a really good opportunity to go back in there and show them that it wasn't just a one-time fluke, that, Madison Square Garden is Cole's house. So I would put my 200 on Wednesday's game in New York.
Listen, you got me there. I did not think of that. If Cole's mom is there, it's a whole different dynamic to that game.
If Cole's mom is at that game sitting in Spike Lee's seat, I swear to you, I will put at least $100.
I think I'm gonna join you on that. Remind me on Friday. It's a game Friday, right? Remind me on that. And we're gonna have to make it fun. Wednesday. We're gonna have to make it fun if that happens.
All right, sounds good, man. All right, so let's wrap this up. Final thoughts
for the week. I think I've said this before, but I'm gonna continue. Just stay healthy, man. I know Wendell's had a major injury, but just stay healthy. I'm having a blast watching this team play right now. Even though most of the games are not turning out in our favor, most games go interesting to the fourth quarter. They come down to the last few minutes. And again, the young guys are playing really well. So I want to continue that. I want to see our guys continue to develop. That's what this year is all about. So stay healthy, keep fighting. That's all I can ask for.
Yep. And with Wendell out, I really am interested to see, Mo take advantage of the opportunity. We talk about this year being a contract year. We talk about him having a brand new mindset, working in a different system. This is the opportunity for you to be able to outshine. And as we edge closer and closer to the return of Jonathan Isaac, whether that be in the next month, whether that be in the beginning of next year, next year in January,
next season.
This is to me, in my eyes, this is tryouts. Like who's going to get that starting spot?
Yep.
Right now, I would put Wendell at that starting five. This is your opportunity to be able to outshine.
I'm going to throw one more thing at you. Now that you mentioned next year and JI, back to betting again. JI comes back before Christmas. Are you betting on that, or are you saying that he goes after Christmas?
I feel like we've had this conversation before, and it's not changing. It's going to be after the break. It's going to be after the holidays for sure.
God, I keep hoping that you change your answer.
January. Wouldn't be surprised if it's February.
God,
I don't know, man. I'm still mind blown that there's really a possibility that Klay Thompson is going to come back before them.
I think
I don't even know anymore. We went to the season ticket holder event over at the Magic hangar, and they had all the players come out, and questions were being asked to them. Jonathan Isaac looked fine. Jonathan Isaac went up the stairs, down the stairs, perfectly fine. No assistance, no limp, no nothing. He looked like he was ready to go.
No comment.
No comment. All right, man. That's a wrap. Thank you guys for listening. Till next week.
Thank you for listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the OZone Pod. And remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.